I've just put £17,000 down on my dream car. I've just brought an Audi R8 V10 Plus, 5.2 engine, 610 brake horsepower. My car is a 2015 plate, which would have been one of the first lot of second generations that come out, because obviously the second gen come out in 2015. I believe they were released in May 2015. This car from brand new was 152,000. This car has £20,000 worth of additional extras. The additional extras that we have, which we will also show you, it's got the LED headlights with Audi laser light and high beam assist. If this was the only car that those headlights were fitted to, that would have been £3,000, that's inclusive of that. It's got the gloss carbon engine bay trim, that price is £2,950. It's got the extended fine Napa leather package for sports seats, that's £2,750. The Alcantara headlining with stitched diamond design, £2,400. Exhaust system, £1,800. This car no longer has the sport exhaust system because whoever owned this car before myself has put a whole exhaust system on it, which you will hear later on in the video.
We are currently going to start the R8. We've got all our garage doors shut to try and keep it as quiet as we possibly can. But there's only so much you can quiet a V10. And that wasn't quiet at all.
Audi magnetic ride, 1,600. Dynamic steering, 1,200. Contrast stitching, £650. Reversing camera, £600. Pneumatic seat backrest and side bolster adjustment, £475. The Audi phone box, £450. Cruise control, £275. That's insane that that's an extra. And a storage package, which I dread to think what it'd be like if it didn't have this, because there's no space as it is, £250. Where is the storage package? Well, you're saying that it wouldn't have a frunk? No, that's a lie. I don't believe that. So this car was £68,000. I put a £17,000 deposit on it to secure it, £68,000 all in. So this car running costs, petrol, bloody expensive. I believe it does 20 miles per gallon. I'm looking at Alex for him to confirm. I believe it's around 20 miles per gallon.
What are you driving?
20 miles per gallon, so expensive. We actually drove this to Germany. So we've actually had this car since March. You'll also notice we're in a different place. We've moved house, which is why we've been silent. Alex is in the process of building his dream garage. We're pretty much there. Got a few more bits to do. Video might come on that if you're interested. So we've had this car since March. We've done a few road trips, which will also be coming to the channel. So £68,000 I paid for this. Road tax is £760. I paid for the year, most probably going to sawn it during the winter months, just to try and get some money back. My insurance on this is £1,500 for the year. That does include 10 years no claims because I am rinsing every discount I can get. Also put Alex on because he's an old man, he gets it down for a little bit. He makes it a little bit cheaper for me, so obviously put him on the insurance, and I'm pretty sure he'd cry if he couldn't drive the car anyway.
If you do find yourself in front of one of these, contemplating whether you want to buy it or not, which you should definitely buy one, because they are that good. Don't rush into it and think you've got to be Lewis Hamilton straight down the M25. Don't rush into it. Have a good look around the car to start off with. Biggest thing, panel gaps. Checking all the panel gaps line up. I mean, they notoriously weren't ever brilliant, but any sign that it could have had a front end knock or a rear knock, you know, all stuff you want to avoid getting, you know, involved with if the car's potentially had damage, which you don't know about. Another biggie is if it's got the original plate on it, see if it's still got the dealership where the car was bought from on it, because that sometimes can be an indication. If it's got a body shop name across the bottom of the number plate, there's a big clue, because that means it's been in a body shop for paint, and if the number plate had broken or fallen off or whatever and been replaced, it's a big hint that it's had repairs. Top tip, Wheels, tyres, have a check through the wheels at the brakes, make sure you can't see any scoring, horribleness, you know, pads getting really low. Just check all the obvious stuff, you know, have a very good look around. Has it been maintained? Get the service history, get all the information you can. Has it got 2 keys? Is another good one. If it's been looked after, it will have 2 keys. Make sure the fuel flap don't fall off, because the fuel flap, this fell off, which was much to my disappointment really. So we actually ended up getting a carbon one, but I could only get the carbon running the opposite way to what this one runs, but we're not really too bothered about that. Have a look underneath it, make sure there's no oil leaks, nothing silly like that. You know, you don't want to be getting involved with one of these with big oil leaks, or possibly even coolant leaks, which can be common on these engines as well. You don't want to be getting involved with that, full stop. All the LED lights, make sure all the LEDs are working in the lights, because these are horrendous money to change, and it's not a case of just changing an LED, it's changing the whole unit, which is big money. So this one obviously has the optional extras of the full carbon pack around the engine, which is literally 4 pieces of carbon and a piece of plastic. But it does look awesome, and the other thing is you get these LEDs in here, so at night, when you walk up to it in the car park, always park it in nose first, because when you walk up to the rear of it, it illuminates this ginormous engine and you think, yeah, that is nice. That's what I think when I walk up to it. You just have a little look at your own engine as you walk past your car. Wicked. Wicked. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, just have a look in the coolant bottle, see if it's on the minimum or maximum in here. They have got level sensors on them, so if it's got a big problem, it'll be flashing up on the dashboard regardless. Just have a good look. Have a visual inspection across the top of the engine. Make sure there's no signs of any oil leaks high up, fuel leaks, anything like that, you know, split hoses, or any tampering as well. If somebody's been in here and put previous modifications on, you know, you just don't want to be getting involved with stuff like that, you know, especially when it comes to the engine related. There was a point on this where we thought the maps had been played around with, and I actually removed both of the ECUs. Luckily they hadn't, so they still had the original maps on them. But with these engines, there's not really much point getting them mapped, because all they do is play around with the valve timing on it. Because there's no turbos on it, it's not worth getting them mapped. You know, it's only really worth getting cars mapped which have got turbos personally. But these are plenty powerful enough. I mean, when you drive these things, it is phenomenal. And how they stick to the road is amazing. And obviously 4-wheel drive as well, with Quattro system, is superb. Again, have a look around the back. Any damage? You know, is there any damage to any of the carbon? Again, these are highly expensive parts. You don't want to ever be replacing, you know, full stop. Common faults, which is quite a biggie when you're going to view one of these cars. You want to know what the common issues are. So what to look out for when you're standing in front of one and you're thinking you're going to pull the trigger on it. Mag ride, the suspension, I'm sure all you got to do is type it into a Google search bar, and you'll see all of the common faults with the mag ride systems. Main one being the shock absorbers are electronic, and they tend to be the biggest issue. Whether that's because it's super stiff suspension, I'm not entirely sure, but they are very expensive to replace as well. I think the shocks alone are about 1,500 quid each. So with the mag ride, they're very common for developing leaks, which is a big one, and they also suffer with electrical faults in the shock. It can make the ride extremely uncomfortable, very knocky when you're going down the road, a little bit bouncy at times, uneven ride height, and also cause the suspension light to come up on the dash quite frequently, which is one to definitely look out for. If you're buying a car this sort of age, you want to make sure that shocks have probably been replaced already, because they are that common. Brake wear is another big one on the V10 Pluses, as what comes from standard out the factory is the carbon ceramic brake discs. These are, and I have actually rung Audi to find out prices because I was very intrigued. On my trade account, I can get the offside one for £4,200. But the near side one is £5,000. So if you have any ideas why one would be cheaper than the other, even though they're identical, but just obviously they're rotational, they'll be moving in a different rotation. How does that work? Who knows? But yeah, just for a set of brake discs alone, you're looking at £20,000, and that's before you've even put brake pads in. So mega expensive. Obviously, tyres, again, are a very expensive one. What Tia's got on hers, she's got the Concava rim. So these wheels are actually aftermarket. They're a very nice rim and they're also very expensive. But the tyres we've got on them is Continental Pilot Sports. 245 30 20 on the front and 305 25 21 on the back. You're looking at a few £100 per tyre easily, and it is a bit of a specialist tyre to fit because the profile is so narrow. Your conventional tyre machines have a high probability of damaging the rim, which you need to consider. If you do have tyres replaced on one you own or might own in the future, make sure you go to a respectable tyre shop to get them fitted so it doesn't damage the wheels. They do suffer with steering faults quite regularly on the Gen 2 versions, and that's one to watch out for because they're highly expensive to get repaired. Noisy when you turn in, tapping noise, clicking, these can all be signs of a fault with the steering. So one to watch out for when you're on a road test. Oil leaks, this is a big one. There's quite a few places where it's common where they leak on these. Oil lines as well, they're quite common for leaking, so you need to keep an eye out for oil leaks. Any patches underneath the car, I'd be walking away from it because they are very expensive to replace. And some jobs on these, engine out potentially to do them. Engine mount wear is fairly common as well. You think of the high output these engines have, and not being funny, you own a car like this, you're going to be driving it fairly hard at times. So the engines do get put through their paces, although they are quite famous for being very reliable engines. And obviously they're not turbocharged. That's a good thing in itself because it's a lot less to go wrong. Air conditioning not working is quite a common one. Big one is the condensers on the front of the vehicle get damaged. All the aircon gas leaks out and then you haven't got any aircon. Aircon pump replacement on these. I've heard from quite a few sources that you've got to take the engine out to change the aircon pump, which seems crazy, but I don't know how entirely true that is, but I have heard that a few times. Another top tip for you guys, if you are going out to see one of these, if you have any facilities to have a piece of diagnostic equipment, whether it's Autel, Snap-on, whatever, just something a bit more in depth than the £9.99 ones you can get on eBay. Things to look out for, number one is launch control. Now, these actually have a counter on them to tell you how many times it's been launched. It's quite important that if you get one which is done, you know, in excess of a couple of hundred launches, the clutch packs on it are going to be really, really worn, and that in itself can be a massive job to replace. Very expensive as well to change the clutch packs on them. So you want to be looking out for that. And the other thing you want to be doing is going to a couple of the different computers on the car to check the mileage, because they are super easy to clock the mileage on these. You can buy these mileage blockers online for literally a couple of £100 and they freeze the mileage while you drive. I wouldn't know anything about them either. That's one to look out for, so make sure the mileage is correct. So launch control, counter, check that. This had done 42, we have yet to do it. I mean, I want to do it. They can suffer from high oil consumption as well, but it does come down to how they're driven a lot of the time. I mean, the thing for Tia is she's not going to be putting this round Brands Hatch every 2 seconds, so look out for that. And crucial that they're serviced correctly to maintain that oil consumption is get them serviced at the right point. This particular car, I'll be servicing this twice a year, and the minimum will be oil changes just because of what it is. So that's really important too. Obviously, not all negatives. These engines are notorious for being bulletproof. They're a very, very strong engine, very well made. I mean, you think how many years these particular engines have been around now, the 5.2s. Of course, they went into the Gen 1s as well for a period before the Gen 2 come out. You could get, obviously, they started with the V8 and they moved to the V10. And then all the Hurricanes, the Lamborghini Hurricanes, are all fitted in them as well. And rarely do you ever see one with a big mechanical engine failure, very rare to see. Because they're non-turbo, they don't suffer with any boost issues or anything like that, which again is really good. You don't want that stuff, and personally for me, naturally aspirated sound, you don't get better than that, in my humble opinion. The S-tronic gearboxes are superb as well. As long as they haven't been ragged out of, they tend to be really good, really reliable, strong gearboxes. My RS6, I mean, I've had that for years now. Never had any gearbox issues with it at all. It's always been perfect. Also, this particular car was actually a feature car in this magazine, which is a car magazine, but this is May 2016, £4.60. I ain't gonna pick up one of them for that anymore, are you? And basically, they said it was the best car that ever existed in the world. So they put them up against a McLaren and a Ferrari and done a comparison between the three cars, which is superb. And it is actually this particular car, which was in the magazine. There she is, look. Although she doesn't look as boring as that anymore. It's had the black badges put on it and a few tweaks here and there, different wheels obviously, because them wheels which were on that one weren't particularly nice, if I'm being honest with you. Oh, actually, they're not too bad. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool selling point. Means it probably got f***ing annihilated and ragged for it in Spain when it was over there, but it's good.
So this has been my dream car from a young age, and the best thing is whenever anyone sees this car, they always think it's Alex's, despite my number plate making it abundantly clear it's mine. But anyway, this has been my dream car for, well, since I was young. I used to watch Top Gear when I was younger with my parents. I've always been a petrol head. I've grown up with three brothers. My mum and dad are both enthusiastic about cars. Granddad used to be a test track driver, so it's kind of in the blood. Alex is also a petrol head, so us having this car is just a dream come true, absolute dream come true. Hopefully, it'll be the first of many supercars. Hopefully, looking at Alex, doesn't look too pleased. It's just the most insane car. It sounds amazing, drives amazing. It's just everything and more. And also, it's just kind of a little bit sentimental. It's kind of just fulfilling one of those childhood dreams, and to be able to do that is just absolutely insane. So yeah, also his photo, which was, I believe, 2020, where I actually parked my Sirocco next to an Audi R8 Spider, and I sent a text to my mum saying my current and future car, which I can now do in reality, alongside all the other cars. So this is Vegas yellow. It's actually one of the standard colours, which surprises me. So there's not a premium cost for this colour, or there wasn't a premium cost for this colour. Premium cost for the orange, I believe the green, and I'm pretty sure there's another colour which I can't remember, but this one was a standard colour. Now, when I told Alex I wanted to get an R8 in yellow, he was a little bit uncertain about it, which actually, if you speak to anyone about a yellow R8 before they see it, you can see the kind of concerned looks on their faces. When we pulled up to the garage to purchase this car, we was in conversation with them for quite a while before we went and saw it, because it was quite far away for us. This was actually parked basically in the forefront of their forecourt, and I fell in love with it within seconds of seeing it. Everyone compliments the colour of it. Let us know what you think of it in the comments. I'm sure there'll be a few people who disagree with it, but isn't your car? Couldn't care less. But yeah, seeing the colour in person, I generally don't think photos do it justice or videos do it justice. The colour is just insane. There's a good few videos coming on this, so if you do like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and also if you know any other kind of buy-in top tips for the Audi R8 that you can help anyone else out, or anything that we've missed, also let us know down in the comments, because it will help us and also it will help anyone else who's watching the video.
Definitely.
Sorry it's been so long. We bought a house, and said house needs a lot of work. So we have been renovating every single room in the house.
As you can see, I focused on the garage behind in the video, and I've gone for the Turkish barber LED lights as well.
So this garage is actually one of the better rooms of the house. But yeah, we do have quite a few videos on the house, so they might make an appearance on here. Maybe. Let us know. Highly unlikely, not really car related.
See you then.
Bye!